Hello again, my name's Lee and today I'm going to be fitting a few more parts on the Z, finishing off the wheel bearings and brakes. We've already done the fronts, we did the flexi hoses in a previous video, so if you haven't had a look at those, they're also available if you want to check those out. So what we've got to do today is the rear discs, the pads, and I even bought the shoes for the handbrake. I thought if we put in new discs on, they'll have the new internal surface, so we might as well use that as well. I've got the genuine Brembo stuff. Car's fitted with Brembo brakes as standard, and then we've got bearing and hub assembly. On the fronts I was able to buy this as a pressed unit. I wanted to go for decent bearings, so I've got SKF ones, and these ones actually I had to get the hubs separately. They're another German brand of hub, so I had to press these together. I'll show you a quick time lapse of doing that. I actually used a fly press because I haven't got a big hydraulic press. So to facilitate that, I actually put the hubs in the freezer overnight to try and shrink them a little bit, and they went together absolutely fine. With this SKF kit, you got a brand new grease seal, which I believe is fitted onto the drive shaft, and obviously a new cotter pin for the hub bolt. So yeah, I think other videos I've seen, some say you don't have to take the drive shaft out, some say that you do. I'm going to take the drive shafts out because I believe these are fitted to the drive shaft itself, so we'll see how we get on. But first job's obviously get the car up in the air, so we'll do that and then I'll check back in and show you when I've got something to show you. Right, so the first port of call is we've got the cotter pin out, we've got the hub nut backed off. It's a 32mm nut. There's quite a lot of torque on it, so it does take a bit of shifting. You're going to need a reasonable sized breaker bar. Then with the nut backed off, it's probably sensible now just to give this a little tap to make sure the drive shaft is loose. We should have some float there, which it looks like we've got. Yeah, so the splines are not locked into the hub. That's a good sign, so we should be able to get that out now, no problem. So the next job is to get to the bolts right back there that bolt the drive shaft to the diff, loosen them off. There's 6 of them, so I've got to get right under the car for that. So I don't know how much of that I'll be able to show. So we've got the drive shaft out. It was a bit of a ball ache. I've had to undo the anti-roll bar, taken the caliper off as well, obviously the discs off. This wheel bearing, there was no play in it, but it does sound like maybe this might be where my noise was coming from. It's hard to say for sure, but the main reason I wanted to take the drive shaft out, 2 reasons. The 4 bolts that hold this whole hub assembly in sit right behind here, so it's really difficult to get to. And in this wheel bearing kit, like I said before, I've been supplied this new grease seal, which is this little flange that sits on the end of the CV boot, so that had to come out to be able to change this. So I'm going to clean all this up, we'll change this over, and then obviously I can get on with the rest of the job, get it all back together. Okay, so we've got the old grease flange off, or grease seal. There's the new one. So it wants to sit just about flush with this. So I've cleaned all of this drive shaft up. Just going to put a little bit of grease around the inside of here. then it wants to seat, so say basically just flush of here. So I've cleaned this surface up, and I'll again just add a little bit of grease around here. And we're going to pop that on. So to help with this, I just made a little widget up that fits over there. So I'll just use a soft faced hammer. Okay, so we've got that all nicely seated on there now. Obviously I'll grease up these splines before they go back in, make sure it's all nice and clean. It's ready to refit. Right, I've got the bearing out, cleaned up that inner face there. Next job is to disassemble this brake assembly, because I want to take this back plate off, give it a bit of a rub down and paint it. So I'm just going to carefully study what's going on with the way the handbrake attaches, where these springs sit. Got this little adjuster here, so that'll probably need winding in. And then yeah, get that disconnected, clean it all up, start putting things back together. Don't know how well the camera will pick this up. That's an old bearing. That's a new one. So I'm just hoping, even though there's absolutely no play in this with the wheel on, leaning on it, there is that little bit of a noise. So I'm hoping that that's cured the problem when I get the new one in. Okay, so we're back on it. It's a new day. Not quite so warm today, sun's not out, but it's not raining, that's the important thing. So I've got the bits out ready. First thing I'm going to do is install the backing plate, dust cover. Then we'll put the brake shoes on, and then the bearing. It's easier to see where you're setting up all this mechanism for the handbrake without the bearing actually in place. It's possible to do it with it in place, but easier without. So we'll crack on with that. I'll whack that on a time lapse and then come back and show you when there's something else to see. Right, so that's got all the shoes installed. This will need adjusting, but I've got it set fairly close for now. There's a hole in the disc, so you can poke a screwdriver in and just push on this. So I know I'll be pushing on the bottom to expand it when I've got this set up, or when I'm setting this up properly. But obviously I want to get the disc on first, and then you'll push this down until it squeezes the shoes out to fit the disc. But first we've got to put the wheel bearing in, or there's nothing to attach the disc to. So bearing in next. These are the 4 bolts that are holding that bearing in, and I'm just going to put a bit of anti-seize on the back of this flange. They were really seized in. Obviously these are steel and they're going into an aluminium hub carrier, so this flange seats on the aluminium. So I'm just going to put a little bit of anti-seize just on not on the threads, because I want them to bite into the steel and not have any reduced friction there, but just on this to stop it corroding with the aluminium. Hopefully I won't be changing these again in a hurry, so maybe this will do the next owner a favour, or maybe it'll be future me in many years to come, but hopefully these are going to be good for a long while. It can't hurt, given how difficult they were to get off, just to do someone a favour. So they're ready to go. I've already put some anti-seize also in the surface where this part of the bearing will go. I've greased the back of the bearing so that the splines go in nicely on the drive shaft. So we're ready to pop it in. Right, so next job is to torque all of these down. Right, they're a bit awkward to get on with that long torque wrench, but they're all done up now. So next on with the disc. Right, so before I put this disc on, it's really important that we get this inner surface clean. I'm not really going to be able to get to it afterwards. Obviously the shoes are already installed, so we don't want to contaminate them. These have come with a protective layer of oil on them to stop them rusting. So I'm going to clean the inside where that drum brake for the handbrake is. Then we're going to clean the inside of the disc face itself. Use both sides of this paper, get the worst off, and then that will be contaminated with oil. So then I'll get a fresh bit. I've taken my gloves off because they had bits of grease and oil on them, so don't want any contamination of this surface now. Another fresh bit. One last go. Make sure I've got every last bit of that residue off. And then I'm going to handle the outside face of the disc, and I'll be able to get to that after I've installed it, so I shall put that on. I'll clean that face last. Right, so we've got the disc, pads, shoes, everything installed. I've just put a couple of wheel nuts on to hold it. I've roughly set up the handbrake, but I need someone to help me put it on and off to set it properly. I've put just a little bit of blue Loctite on these drive shaft bolts, so we're ready to go back in with that. I've just put a light smear of grease on the end here, so that's all ready to go. Let's pop it in. Right, 180 degrees. That's it. Right, now back a bit. Stop. Back a bit more. So the last job we're going to do is just whack this hub nut on for now. Obviously I'm not going to be able to torque it up till it's back on the ground, so I need to basically get the wheels back on, get it back on the ground, torque these up, then take the wheel back off and put the little split pin in. But for now we'll just get it back on and tight so everything's situated nicely. Right, so we've torqued these up now, wheel back off, new split pin going in, pretty much maxed out the torque wrench as well. Let's just blend these around there. And wheel back on, hopefully for the last time for a while. Torque up the wheel nuts. Well, that worked out pretty well. Just been out for a little test drive. Sun's come out, car is driving lovely, there's no more noises. So yeah, I think the wheel bearings have done the trick. The brakes obviously still need a little bit of bedding in, but they're working lovely, pedal feels good. So you stuck with me this far, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you again in the next one. I've got a set of plugs to put in this, so I might do a video on that. But the next thing, the next little project that's come up is going to be this one. So I've always fancied one of these. It's a Corrado VR6. Picked this up from a friend's dad. So it is absolutely filthy. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, but this is going to be a little project. It's in pretty good condition all round, not a bad car. So yeah, we'll definitely try and get some footage of this, especially that initial clean if I can. Like, you see all that, those marks, but it looks pretty solid. There's a few little bits and pieces want doing, but this will be the next thing to start having a look at. So once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.